So really, it's about encouraging anybody if they really need a place to talk. And often people see us because they don't feel they can talk to their families or their friends. It can be embarrassing. We're not scared of the details, we're not scared of big emotions, and we are here for you. So do just come and see us or give us a ring if you need support or know anybody that does. We're here.
So what we're going to do, just to add a bit of flavour, because you guys have got the real intellect here and the real understanding, what we're going to do, we were going to ask you to sit on the stage like you guys are like preachers and that. Is that all right? So can we ask you all to like jump on stage? I think some of you have even got presentations and things, right? You're just rolling in it. So come up on stage, like you got to walk on like you're a preacher though. Give them a round of applause, ladies and gents. So grab a seat, and I think at certain points, you'll all have 5 minutes each, literally just to talk about what you've got, and if you've got presentations, etc. Have a seat there, Uncle. You can sit on the other side. Okay, thank you. You can sit together, right? So, I'm going to call up Safika. What a lovely name. Safika, come and talk to us. You've got 5 minutes. Talk to us. Tell us about what you do, what you've got presenting.
Yay. Hello, I'm Sophia. I'm the urology, Macmillan Cancer Uro-Oncology, CNS. I am from Greece originally, so when I get back and they ask me what do I do, it's quite hard to explain what do I do here, because obviously back home we don't have specialist nurses. And that's why I'm here. I really love nursing. I really wanted to make a change, so I thought, here I go. They came over to Greece, said, come over to UK, you'll be able to go there and help. So here I am. I started from George's back 8 years, did a bit of urology on the ward. So, yes, sorry. So I saw a lot of men that they went through prostatectomies. It was a one night stay in the hospital, so you didn't really get to spend much time with them. We were seeing them after sedation, so most of the time they were actually asleep. We would have the relatives coming up and say, how is my husband? How is my dad? So I really felt at that point, I need to do something. I need those people to know that, you know, someone is out there, I want to help, I want to do that. Then Croydon opened a job, so I applied for it and came over, and I became one of the specialist nurses. We are doing the triaging, we are doing the follow-ups of their MRIs. I am currently trained to do biopsies. So lots of things really, so I am there in every step of that journey really, because it is a journey. Obviously, we need to raise awareness because it's quite important that men come out there and actually get tested. But I think it's important for their wives, partners, girlfriends to actually encourage those people to actually go and get tested. Because most of the time, what I hear a lot, at least on my triaging consultations, is that, well, I didn't want to come and get tested because I don't want to lose my relationship with my partner. And it was quite interesting, you know, to hear that. And I said, well, relationship is not only a sexual relationship. It's much more than that. So I do a lot of talking with my patients, with their relatives, with their families also. I am there in every step that they need me. As I normally say to them, I am just a telephone or an email away, so please do feel free to contact me. We are a diagnostic center, so we don't really do a lot of treatment, but I think we are there on the important steps, so when they get diagnosed, actually. We do refer them to other hospitals, but we see that quite a lot of our men actually still come back to us. They want to talk to us. They feel we have been there in every step. And we are very happy to actually obviously help them. That's what I do. We have seen that our referrals have actually increased, which is really, really important, and I'm really happy to see that going forward. And here we are.
I've just seen one of our panelists for the later discussion just arrive in the room, and he's really respected highly in our local community. Bishop Mark, can you come and take a seat at the front? Can you please salute the Bishop of the Acts Christian Centre, Bishop Mark Nicholson? Give him a round of applause as he comes. Come on up, Bishop. Come and sit on the front row somewhere if you can. As we would say in the church, in all protocols observed. So please. I need one of them suits as well, Bishop. It makes me look slimmer. I'm telling you, I need that suit. That jacket will make me look good, man. I tell you. Suresh, I would like to give you a round of applause. Can you give a round of applause to Suresh, a retired nurse? Come on up, Suresh. What an honor to have you. Come and say something. Really honored to have you.
Good afternoon, everyone, and lovely to be here. Now, a little icebreaker. How many types of cancer you think you have? Quickly, I only have 5 minutes. I can't. Anyway, how many specific male cancers we have? All right, because time limited, I'll tell you. We have 3 male-specific cancers. Prostate cancer, which is the highest cancer in men, penile cancer, and testicular cancer. Now, I am a retired cancer nurse, but the last 14 years of my work, I work as prostate cancer charity as a specialist nurse there on the helpline. And now I work for a male cancer charity ad hoc, where I do male cancer awareness. Now, we discussing prostate cancer, and I know the problem in our community, how we are reluctant to go and get checked and to talk about it. And we need to belt up, open up, take responsibility, and go and get checked. Over 52,000 men are diagnosed every year with prostate cancer. Over 400,000 men are living with prostate cancer, and 12,000 men die every year from prostate cancer. This is a serious problem. 1 in 4 black men will develop prostate cancer compared to 1 in 8 Caucasian men. We as a community need to take responsibility, stop burying our head in the sand. We can save lives by going and get checked, and that's one of the reasons we're here. So, what are the risk factors of prostate cancer? First, age. Older you get, higher risk. Over 80% of men who are diagnosed with prostate cancer will be 60 years and over. Family history. If you have a father, brother, grandfather, or a female member who has ovarian or breast cancer with the BRCA gene mutation, that increases your risk by 2.5 times. There's also, sorry, I lost because I don't have any thing. But risk factors, yeah, age, family history, ethnicity, which is the thing what I should be remembering most about, because here, 1 in 4 black men. We don't know why 1 in 4 black men. However, if you look at the stats for black men with prostate cancer, you will see it's more common in the Caribbean, here in England, and in West Africa. And there could be a genetic link, but we still need more detailed research. There are research, but there could be a genetic link. Throughout the Caribbean, we have a high incident of prostate cancer. We have it here among our black people, and we all from West African origin. So there could be a genetic link. I know my time is up, so, but you know, my colleagues are here and they will say more, but that's me for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Uncle. Andrew, I think as I'm going to bring up Jeff, and Jeff's going to really hit us with some real truths about it. I think this is just me, and I'm just very unique in thinking. I agree that I've got a different perspective on life and very comedic as well. But I think that, Bishop, I think the challenge is that there's a lot of myths surrounding prostate cancer as well. I've grown up in church where people just say pray about it, and they cast out the demon, and they'll say things like the devil's a liar. I know I'm urinating 7 times a night, but the blood prevails. And it sounds good, but the man's not getting checked out. There's myths that if you eat too much pork, then you're going to get prostate cancer. There's myths that if you've got erectile dysfunction, that it's linked to prostate cancer. And I was just sitting down just listening to Jeff a couple of minutes ago, and Jeff was saying that sometimes you don't even get no symptoms. That scares me, Jeff. So ladies and gentlemen, we're going to open up the can of worms, we're going to open up the conversation, but I'm going to ask Jeff to come and share his journey loud and clear so we can be awoke, we can be enlightened on what we need to hear, how we need to be checked. And you know what? If 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 people are saved from today's conference, it's been worth every single second. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Jeff Thompson.
Can you see me behind this? Yeah, as Anthony was saying, prostate cancer itself, I actually call it the silent invader, because when it hits you, you don't know until it hits you. Now, I had prostate cancer in 2018, diagnosed with it. I was relatively fit and been doing martial arts for over 20 odd years. So I didn't feel to myself that, cancer would be a thing that would bother me. Now, swiftly going along, I remember I was at the gym, and a friend of mine who I generally spar with, I hadn't seen him for about 3 weeks. So, when I met him on the high street, he was walking, kind of strangely, almost like his middle leg was too heavy for him. I then approached him and I asked him what happened, and he told me he was wearing a catheter. Okay, now he told me his story and why he was diagnosed with prostate cancer. I then decided that the next day I am going to go and get myself checked. I went in and I got a PSA blood test done. Well, I didn't straight away. I said to my doctor, can I have a PSA blood test? He then looked at me and said, no, why do you want one? You're too young. Okay, I was a little set back then, but I insisted. Anyhow, I had the blood test done. Then after the blood test, he said to me, would you mind if I do a DRE? I was like, what's that? Which is a direct rectal examination, finger up the anus, basically. When he said that, my buttocks tightened really tight, all right? I don't occasionally look at men's hands, but I looked at his fingers and they were fat as sausages. And I thought, that's gonna go somewhere the sun doesn't shine. Anyhow, he did it. And, lo and behold, he said to me, Mr. Thompson, your prostate is lumpy. I said, what does that mean? He said, well, it should be smooth as an acorn. Anyway, straight there and then, he decided he's going to sort out what he called an emergency biopsy. Now, I didn't have any scan or anything. An emergency biopsy, he then rang a hospital called Shirley Oaks Hospital. A couple of days I was in there. If I thought the finger up the backside was one thing, the biopsy was a whole different story. Now, I haven't got much time to get into all details, but however, after that I was diagnosed with prostate cancer. That was a big shock to me because I never thought that I would ever have prostate cancer, considering I ate well, I was fit, and I kept looking after myself. Now, during that period, they gave me a little while to think about, what procedure I would opt for. I didn't realize what was happening to me mentally, but things started to go really strange, okay? I'm gonna speed up and bring it to the point. I had decided to have the operation. The operation, they claim, was successful. Yet I was in hospital for almost 2 weeks. After the 2 weeks, I came up. Got home, they told me, once you release the catheter, you must exercise, go out for a walk. So I decided to go out for a walk. It weren't these trousers, but no one told me don't wear khaki trousers. So I'm there wearing pads. Now I'm feeling very embarrassed, feeling like a baby, feeling like, humiliated. Anyway, walking down the high street, I saw a bunch of school kids coming home from school. friend of mine, practical joker, drove up by me, tooted his horn. Now I'm suffering with urine incontinence. The minute he pressed that horn, I flood out. Now I thought to myself, oh, it's going to be okay. These pads are super absorbent, no worries. But the urine kept coming. And it started to form a map of Africa down my leg. And it went into my trainers. And all I looked at was these school kids, do you have a mobile phone? That's what I'm looking for, because I wasn't prepared to become famous on the internet. Anyway, I tunnel vision, went straight home. Drew my curtains, switched off my phone, disconnected myself from the world, and I decided to try and commit suicide because I had enough. Okay? Now from there, the penny dropped. Thank God I'm still here. I then came to my senses and rang up a friend of mine and said to them, look, blah, 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 what were you going through during the process? He said, oh, I wanted to commit suicide. I didn't tell him what I did. But from there we kept talking, and we kept talking. And then he said, did you know that Jonathan's got prostate cancer? And I went, really? Picked up phone, rang him. So we all had this 5 men here now talking every Friday, okay, about prostate cancer. And we found that we were healing ourselves through talking, okay? So from that point, I realized to myself that talking was the first step to your healing. So whenever you're going through a situation, don't cover it. Talk about it, okay? Because if you don't talk about it, nobody knows what you're going through. However, we started, this organization. Well, no, not the organization yet. Kept communicating with each other till at one point we had over 25 men on our Zoom. Then it worked up to 50, all black men. And then it kept going and kept going. And as to date now, some of my members are here, thank God. We have 2,000 members on Cancer Don't Let It Win. Okay, it's a support group that is set up for black men, giving them the opportunity to talk. Now, prostate cancer itself, like I said, it's the silent, invisible invader. So no matter how fit you are, they say 1 in 4 of us black men will have prostate cancer. 1 in 4 of us black men in here, 1 of us in here will have prostate cancer. And prostate cancer is nothing to be embarrassed about because you didn't cause it. You didn't call for it to happen. You did nothing for it to happen. But remember also, if your mother has had breast cancer or ovarian cancer, okay, you stand a chance of having prostate cancer through a gene called the BRCA genes. So it's important that women who are here today go home, talk to your brother, talk to your uncles, talk to your fathers, and ask them to get checked. I'm going to finish now by saying, don't wait to have symptoms before you go and get yourself checked. Thanks very much, Jeff Thompson.
You know what? Can you do me a bigger favor? Can you give him a louder round of applause? He's still here. He's still here. He's still here. Andrew likes to warn me because he knows my mouth has no filter when I'm ready. And the bishops and pastors in the room, they still book me to come to their churches despite knowing that I'm a bit mischievous. But I got checked myself. Guys, I got checked. Even though I was under 40 at the time, I got checked. And Jeff, I'm going to be honest with you. It took the doctor half an hour to do that actual check. By the time I finished with the doctor and telling them that you get 3 points for going up the no entry, it was like they knew that I'm not the one. Half an hour to persuade me to check the acorn, as they would say. And I had to tell the male doctor, come out of the room, give me a female doctor, because it just, I'm being honest. If I talk about it, then I will address the stigma, because there's a stigma associated with getting checked. And I thought, if I'm going to do this conference, I have to talk about my truth as well, which was I had to get checked. I felt that I was urinating twice in the night, and I wondered, and because my stepdad was diagnosed with it, and he had to go through the whole process at Guy's Hospital, and even having to commute him home and things like that. But it felt violating. It felt, as a man, that for those moments where I was getting checked, it felt that my manhood was being compromised. There was a fear associated with it, but also there was a freedom that when they done the PSA test as well, and checked, and mine came back okay. But I felt that ease that at least I had it checked. But there's a stigma attached in our community about having that first step to having it checked out. And a couple of the people up here, Andrew, said they want to take a couple of questions from the crowd in relation to some of the fears and the stigmas associated with it. I think it's wise to get checked out and not sit down in a service and come up and get prayed for and think that's the only way that we can address it. God has given us scientists and wisdom and skilled professionals that can help with the process. So, is there any questions? I've told you my truth, and I think I'm glad to see women in the house. All the women, wave at me, women. Women, wave, wave, wave. If you're a lady, say, hey. Because it could be your man, your son, your uncle. And you need to be aware of it as well, that we know the right steps and procedures to take in order to get checked. So is there any questions from the crowd for this wonderful panelist, wonderful group of panelists? Because I've got loads of questions, but I want to hear it from the crowd. And I think we've got a spare mic here. Auntie on the far side, you've got a question. Is someone running around with a mic for me? Excellent. Whilst you're doing that, can we give a round of applause to the BME Forum staff? Thank you so much for the work that you do. Thank you so much. So we've got a lady there in a lovely orange top. Go for it.
Good afternoon, everyone. My question to the panel is, how close are we to understanding why this prostate cancer is affecting mainly black men, mostly black men and not Caucasian men?
That's a very good question. Do I look at you first or you? Oh, okay, nurse, go for it.
I did briefly mention that there may be a genetic link, and they're doing more studies to be definite it's a genetic link. But if we look at the stats, as I said, in England among West African, in the Caribbean among black Caribbean, and in America among black Americans, all these people were taken from West Africa. There's a higher incidence of prostate cancer. If you look at North Africa and East Africa, the incidence is not as high. So it could be very well linked to genetic factors.
That's a very good answer. So can I ask, are you saying that East Africans and West Africans, it's not the same in terms of the amount of...
Well, from the stats, but then we don't get very effective stats because of the healthcare system. But I saw stats from these countries, you know, Egypt, East Africa, Ethiopia, and these places, it doesn't show a high incidence. And as I say, during the slave trade, people were taken from West Africa to the Americas, to the Caribbean. And the majority of people from, and black British, is from West Africa.
So can I ask a question while you're up here, Uncle? That's you, you know, you're hot. 1, 2. Where's the other mic?
1, 2, 1, 2.
I could be there, okay. The only other point I just want to make, so is there a myth that it's because people eat red meat that that's why black men get cancer?
It is a myth. However, one of the risk factors are diet. Eating a lot of processed food, it doesn't necessarily mean just prostate cancer, but in general, processed food, high dairy products, red meat. That's, in my presentation, I will say, these are potential risk factors.
No jerk pork and macaroni for me today. Okay, so I'll make sure I'll keep out. I've got a hand over there. Thank you so much, Uncle. We've got a hand over there, thank you.
Hi, I just wanted to ask, is there a certain age that men should get tested, where it starts from, or are we testing youths? What are we doing?
So we normally suggest if there is a family history to do their first PSA at 40s. If that comes back to normal, then they can check it after a couple of years. But with a family history, we like a nice start of like 40s. Otherwise, with no family history really, no risk factors, we would normally suggest to start in their 50s and start having their PSAs.
Thank you. Nurse, I saw your hand up there, sir. Yes, go for it.
The present NHS guideline on the prostate risk management is any man at the age 50, I'll come back to black men, any man at the age 50 should go to the GP and request a prostate check. And it is your right as a man to demand and get that test. It's not for the GP to decide, it's for you to decide. If you are a black man or a black man, I say go at age 45. I know my colleagues are saying they're 40, but the guidelines and what we are campaigning for, that black men get checked at age 45. So it's your right, and don't stand up and go and get it. And let me just say, we talk about the rectal examination. If you don't want a rectal examination and you go without symptoms, just have the blood test, because you can use it as a baseline for every year as a follow-up test. Just have the blood test. I don't know this thing. Women here have to have cervical smear and breast mammogram. And that is very invasive. And we men, we're so coward. We're burying our head in the sand.
Uncle, it's like you want to drop the mic. Uncle, you're a bad man, innit? Well, yeah, Uncle, we're so coward. But I think you raised a good point, because ladies, how you doing, ladies? If you're a lady, say hey. If you're a man dressed like a lady, please meet Bishop Mark after and Bishop Danning. I'm playing. But I like how you address the issue, Uncle, because there are a lot of men that are quite cowardice and afraid. And, you know, that comes with, that could trigger worse issues. Sir, your hand is up. Thank you. We'll take 2 more questions so I can bring it and keep it to time.
Can you hear me? Okay, thank you. That was fantastic.
Please stand.
Oh, dear. I went 5 years ago and I got tested, PSA, and thankfully clear. But I haven't been since. I think you've answered my question. Is it annual? Should we go annually?
Should it be done annually?
Yes, I would say as a black man, because you're at high risk, do it annually. And another thing, this test is not expensive. It's nothing to do with cost. It's just we campaigning to get it done as more like a screening.
How old was you when you got diagnosed?
How long?
How old was you?
55 years old. Now 61. Yeah. But can I just add to that question? The question was asked about what age to go and get tested. I know there's a prostate cancer representative here in the house, Paul, and we were a part of a consensus meeting, okay? Now, it's stressed that if in your family, your mother has had breast cancer, ovarian cancer, okay, then there's stress that if it's a family history, that you should be able to go and speak to your doctor to get a PSA blood test, okay? And it was that any time during that history. You must have a family history to go and get tested, yeah? Thank you.
Bishop's going to go next, but can I just throw something into the mix? I've got a question to ask. Were you married at the time you were diagnosed?
Most definitely not, okay? When I was diagnosed, that was one of my biggest fears, of being involved with any, having a relationship, okay? It would have been rather difficult, because there you feel your manhood's been compromised, okay? You feel to yourself, I'm a baby again, I'm wetting myself. So that was out of the question. But during the whole period, it took me 2 years, if I could say, to get back in the sack, yeah? And for things to dry up. And then after that, believe it or not, I got married, yeah? So prostate cancer itself, let me just put it out there, is not a death sentence. And if it's caught early, it's curable. If you leave it too late, procrastinate, worrying about this and that, and thing up the backside and so on, you're living on a death sentence. You're giving your life more time to just go downhill. So as Shrez rightly said, men, come on. There's nothing to be afraid of. And if you're afraid of the erectile dysfunction, put your health before pleasure. Yeah? I thank God that I'm standing here today, and I give him all the glory. Yeah? Because he's my director. All right? So I remember I used to go to church before. I'll finish in a minute. I used to go to church before. But I found I was a church member. But only when I went through that experience, that's when I realized about what it means to actually have that personal relationship. Yeah? And, prostate cancer, God bless Andrew. He supported me from all the way. And to the point now that I've been invited, I just got back from Atlanta, Georgia, okay, where I had to go and speak at an organization called Morehouse, okay? And I shared the word prostate cancer, spread it in Atlanta, Georgia, then down to Tennessee. I never thought I would be able to do that, but I done it, and I'm not just a local speaker anymore, I'm now international, right? Okay? But just to finish there, tomorrow I'm off to Sweden again, to the black community, to help and express, the views on prostate cancer and support them as much as possible.
So you're saying that had you not gone through what you went through, you wouldn't be on, to be on Morehouse is mind-blowing. So you had to go through the process. If I was a preacher, you had to go through the Red Sea. Do I have at least 5 people in here that understand you have to go through the Red Sea, face Jericho? So you had to go through what you went through to now be on international platforms. Can I ask one more question for the man then? Did Lazarus come back? Did Lazarus rise again? No, I missed it. Did Lazarus rise again?
He has risen.
Don't play, Bishop Danny will take this to church, Bishop. We could take this to church. If I was in church, I'd say, touch 3 people and say, Lazarus, come forth. Lazarus, come forth. Bishop Mark Nicholson.
Nurse, maybe you'll be able to answer this question for me. We've been kind of emphasizing on the symptoms of going to toilet quite often. But are there other symptoms that we can actually bear down to say this could be in line to prostate cancer? We just mentioned the one, which is constantly going to the toilet. What are the other symptoms?
Obviously it can be with no symptoms, as we've said, but yes, it can be symptoms such as lower urinary tract symptoms, as we call them, that they can actually, frequency to the toilet, waking up overnight, your flow being a bit slower. And it's quite interesting, thank you for bringing that up actually, because when I speak to men on the phone, I say, well, do you have any symptoms? And they say, no, I don't. And then I'm like, well, is your flow a bit slower? Or do you wake up overnight? They're like, well, I wake up 3 times at night. It's a little bit slower, but yes, it does come with age. So it's quite important we keep that in mind. Other symptoms, obviously I normally ask when I see high PSA readings if there is any back pain, because at that point we are most likely talking of a metastatic disease. So if I see somebody with a higher reading and a back pain, then I normally bring them in on the same day to actually come back and see me. Erectile dysfunction, it could be one of the symptoms. So there are a few things to look out there. I don't know if I have time. I wanted to ask a question. Do we all know what prostate is and where prostate is sitting? We are all aware. Excellent. So it is quite, all of those symptoms should be mentioned out there because they can be signs and symptoms of prostate cancer. But not only, people are actually suffering silently out there, and they are, it cannot even be prostate cancer, but there are things we can obviously do about that. Don't leave it up too long, really. That's all I would say. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I've got to wrap this part up. I've been able to bring back the time very skillfully. Can I ask you to give every one of these incredible speakers a round of applause? I'm going to ask you to join the crowd if you can. Can I ask you to join the crowd, or are you happy to stay up here? Okay, I've got 1 minute, literally 1 minute.
Yes, thank you for giving me this opportunity. Good day, everyone. My question is pretty simple. I would like to hear from you what is basically the turnaround time from the time of the examination to when we gents get the results.
Good question. You haven't said anything. You're here all day and you're just looking like you just come off Love Island. And we need to hear your voice at least. Come on up, come and say, what is the turnaround time from your understanding?
I mean, I'm not the expert in the medical side of things. I'm the expert in the talking and the emotion side of things, but it can be rapid. What, 2 weeks or?
So as soon as we actually get the referrals from the doctor, we normally talk within 1 to 3 days, really. The MRI is done within 10 days. We get the results, 3 to 4 days after the MRI has been done. And then, obviously, if we discharge, happy times. If we don't discharge and we need biopsies, normally within, I'd say, a week, we book for biopsies. So the whole pathway is about 28 days that we are aiming to have all of the investigations.
But I think what I would say is that is a really hard time, that waiting. Sometimes people are waiting more than 2 weeks.
Sorry to cut in there. I was about to say to you, now that we have an idea of roughly 28 days, do we get some form of support during that? Because it's a nerve-wracking 28 days, believe you me. Sleepless nights.
Yeah,
Thank you.
It is such a hard time waiting for those results. And often if it's sort of right over the Christmas period, it can be a month. That's where we're there to support people with the sleepless nights, the anxiety, all of that. There's a lot of support there. So really anyone who's at high suspicion of a diagnosis and they haven't had it confirmed yet, we will see.
Thank you. Very good. Very good. Very good. Go on, Lee. Go for it. Absolutely.
And we're so thankful for it. I just want to encourage you. Keep your ear out for what's available in your community. If you're not signed up to the Croydon Daily Form, get there, because that's one of the greatest sources of information in our borough. For a whole forum of things that we support.
Absolutely. Love that, Lee. Thank you, Lee. And panel, I've been asked to ask you to take your seats. Thank you very much. Can we give the panel a round of applause? Lee, you hit the nail on the head. By far, hit the nail on the head. Thank you so much, panelists, as well. I can't believe I've brought time back by 10 minutes, which I'm really happy about. Apostle Delroy Smith from Restoration City Church will come and say a word. His testimony is going to be 6 minutes, but I want you to give him a large round of applause as he comes. He's an incredible man. Please give him a round of applause to Apostle Delroy Smith.
Thank you. All right, due to time, I'll be as quick as I can. I'm gonna try to speak from a pastoral perspective, so you kind of bear with me. I was training at my workplace in the gym, and I found I was having a lot of pain in my groins, and I had a personal trainer I was talking to, and I thought it was where I've lifted too much weight and I had an issue. So I said, and also at the same time, I was going through a process of being a foster carer. And part of that process meant that you have to go through a particular checks, medical checks. So when I was going through the medical check, I thought I would ask at the end of the checks to get my prostate done, to get it checked, because I hadn't had it checked for about 3 years. And so it was just out of just the pain I was going through, I went through and I had the check, and it came back that I had further investigation that was needed. And long story short, in 2019, 2020, sorry, I got diagnosed with cancer, prostate cancer. The thing is, what we was discussing, I had no other symptoms, and that was the thing. I had no symptoms whatsoever. It was just me saying, let me get checked, and insisting I want to have a check. Just very quickly from that, so I had that, and the process was fantastic. The process was really quick. In my situation was that the cancer was within the prostate, which was a relief, but the process is nerve-wracking. When you have to wait for the results, it's not easy at all. That bit was hard. And then I had to decide what type of surgery I was going to go for. So because of previous experiences, I decided to have the radiotherapy. So I started on having the hormone treatment for that. And at the time, some of you may have known Bishop Joel Edwards. He was going through the same thing at the same time, so we were speaking to each other. And one of the questions we was asking is, as leaders, how do we address the church on this issue? And he was asking me, are you going to speak to the church? And I said, I've got to speak to the church, but because I was going through the process of being a foster carer, I have to go through the board and have different things which I was going through. But I said at some point I would have to bring it to the church. And so that was one of the things we done. I had to speak to the church, speak to the family, and explain to them, because when you have the hormone therapy, sometimes in your pulpit, like women who have the menopause, they know what it's like, you just get extremely hot and almost to the point where you're going to pass out when you're going through the hormone therapy. And so I had to go through that, and then at the last moment, on my final check, I was with one of the doctors, and they were asking me, why are you doing radiotherapy, and why not have the surgery? And because I had previous experiences with surgery, I chose radiotherapy. But that particular doctor advised me it would have been better to have the surgery done. It was the right decision, and I met with the person, it was from the Royal Marsden, and I met with the surgeon, his name was Dr. Ogden, and he was so confident, because I was going to do an experimental one, and that's the thing that's slightly different from most. I wanted an experimental surgery, because I didn't want to go through the normal process. My surgery ended up to be 7.5 hours, but this man was an absolute expert. What I wanted to say out of my one was that the surgery went good, but it was at the same time as the lockdown. So it was March the 3rd I had my surgery, and they had to rush me out of the hospital because of the COVID. So I had to do my recovery at home, and unfortunately there were some issues with that because I needed more follow-up care and I didn't have that. But the point I wanted to just raise was the lady who does Macmillan, because I want to speak from a pastoral perspective, because what happened was, as a result of that surgery, I didn't know it triggered for me to have post-traumatic stress disorder. So I was dealing with that as a leader and as a pastor. And the thing is, the good thing was I had the support of my family. I had the support of the church because I spoke to the church, I told the church, I made them aware of the challenges that comes with it. And so when you have that, it's important for us to be able to communicate. And then we had this thing called Restoration Talk, where we recorded some things and we put it out there. And what also really helped was I signed up for Prostrate UK. It's a support group. And they were fantastic in regards to helping with some of the questions I had and some of the thoughts, because other people was going through the same challenge. But I wanted to kind of speak from a pastoral perspective, because what do you do when you've been trained in terms of, we know how to do spiritual warfare, we know all that kind of stuff, but there was something that was happening to me that I couldn't explain. And so for me, in my situation was, what do? I don't know how to pray for something I don't have understanding for. And so what I had to do was contact Macmillan, because I first of all spoke to my surgeon and asked, what did you do to me? What's causing in the morning I normally wake up in the morning and I'm good to go, but in the morning it was almost like depression because your testosterone levels is low and it's a struggle to get up. And if you're not used to that, if you're normally used to getting up, you know, and you're good to go, it's a massive challenge for me. So I had to find a way how to reorganize my life and reorganize things from a different perspective. And also what was really important as a pastor, as a Christian, as a leader, to seek help. Because it's good to, as Anthony said, it's good to have people to come lay hands and pray with you. But if you don't know what the situation is, you're going to struggle. And so I contacted Macmillan and said, look, I need to talk to someone because there's things going on psychologically with me that I don't know what is happening. And when they went through a process of support, and that was, again, it was fantastic support, and they went through some questions and things like that, and I got diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. So I went through counseling sessions with a counselor to help me through. Again, for black men, we don't normally do this, but this is something that's important, especially when in the church. Sometimes when the church, when you hear about counseling, we don't deal with that because we've got the great counselor. Oh, I wish I had some help. But it was so important for me as a leader to show the people what needs to be done and not to be, I don't really care about stigma because I've never been one who cares about stigma. If I need help, I need help. And the thing is, I wanted to be around for my children. I wanted to be around for my family. That's the bottom line. So I didn't really care about the checks. I just want to be around. So just for time, I'm around for 1 minute. So I went through the different checks which I needed to do, and what was good was the support. I'm at the situation now where everything, I've got the all clear. My PSA is 0.03. So I've got the all clear, that's all fantastic. All the brothers in my church, everyone knows about it. I'm not ashamed, I told them, but the only thing is I don't own prostate cancer. Prostate cancer is there, but I don't take ownership of it. It's there, it's something we have to deal with. So all the brothers in our church knows about it. And not only in the church, for those of you who go to the gym, we talk. Men in the gym is important. We talk to the men. If you know black guys, we tell them, when you reach a certain age, have you got checked? Just have that conversation. And in doing that, there's 3 people I know connected since my conversation who's got checked and found that they've got it and have been dealing with it. So they're still around. So it's a good testimony. We need to continue to share. Forget about the stigma. It's about being around for our families and our loved ones. Thank you for your time.
Wow. You know what, I think we can do better than that. Give him a louder round of applause, seriously. He hit on some real stuff.
Thank you so much.
Real stuff. God bless you, Apostle. I didn't even know the story. I just remember I got a message saying you was unwell, but then nobody went into what it was. But thank God that you're in the land of the living, right? And we really give God thanks for that, you know. And you hit a real point about being around for our families and our children's children. And I'm aware that you're a granddad now, right? So you've lived to see your grandchild, right? I like what you said, Uncle Milton, get ready, but I like what you said as well, that men do talk. Hold on, I gave a shout out to the ladies. Is there any men in the room? Say yeah, yeah. If you're proud to be a man, say yeah, yeah. That's more like it. Because nowadays you don't know, Bishop. You know, nowadays you equal ops and all them things. You have to, you know, you just don't know. All right, you just don't know. All right, so, and men talk. The other thing is men do talk. We talk in the barber shop. We talk around the football game. But as Apostle rightfully said, just raise it. Have you been checked? Ask the question, have you been checked? There's a lady that walked into the room. When she walked into the room, you saw the angels walking beside her and all sorts as she walked in. She's the wife of Andrew Brown, and we didn't get to acknowledge her a bit earlier, but she hasn't aged a bit. Celebrated her big birthday this year and looks fantastic. Can you just do me a favor, give her a round of applause, Lady Amanda Brown. She cracked me up. Watch it. Stop it. I know. God bless you. We've got another. Lee, we're really recovering time really well. I want to bring up Milton Moore. Where's Milton Moore? Come on, Uncle Milton. Can you give him a round of applause as he comes? How you doing, sir?
Hi, thank you. Good evening, afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It was what a wonderful conference, and what a testimony from Pastor Delroy Smith. Yeah, my journey began, really, speaking for myself. In 1993, I went to my GP, 93 that was, and I said to him, I want to get a test for a PSA test done. And I didn't object, actually. I think he asked me why, and I told him why I wanted to get it done. It was because somebody had advised me that it was prevalent in black men in 1993. And I went and asked my GP, and I think she was a listening GP, and she agreed, and I had my first test in 93. Every year after 93, I've had my PSA test. Roll on to come 2008. My experience in 2008 was really bad. I couldn't sleep at night. I was going to toilets regularly, very frequently. But also on journeys out to work, I was leaking. It's leaking all over the place on journeys out to work. Fortunately, I could control my leak. I was able to hold it and get to the toilet so I could get it in the toilet rather than get in my trousers. But so the getting to work and getting back from work was awful. And that's not a part of it we've got to consider. The emotional part that some men go through is traveling to and from their work, getting time off from the employers. And some employers, even in the 1990s or 2018, they didn't actually sort of want to give you time off to go and get your test. So roll on. So those period leading up to 2014 was really, really bad. But what I did for myself, once they found out up to 2010, when all my PSA checks were very low, they were about 2.5, but I kept wetting myself, having accidents. So by 2014, we sped it up, got me into Mayday Hospital, where they did the DRE, that we all know that is. We did the prostate biopsy, and that proved that there was no cancer. There was no cancer. But the good thing is I was having a PSA check from 1993. Really pleased there was no cancer. The next test was to reduce and stop the wetting of myself. How we did that really was, we've been strict at myself, cutting out. I was already a vegetarian. I don't eat meat, don't eat no dairy products. I realized I had to stop. I realized what the things were triggering off the wetting. Taking tea, drinking tea, that was kicking off my bladder, affecting the bladder. And that prostate was so close to the bladder, it was actually creating havoc. Coffee as well, all those things I monitored. I monitored them carefully. That when I drank, what were causing the leak. Cut those all out. Until in the end, come up to 2017, we met my consultant again, and he decided that, well, the prostate, there's no cancer, which is really good, but the prostate had actually grown pretty large. I said, how large? Possibly the size of a golf ball. And we know it meant to be like a small, it was the size of a golf ball. And at that time, he reckoned, well, we've got to, you got two choices. Either take the medication to reduce it, or we go for an operation. So I deliberated about that for quite a while, spoke to my wife and other members of my family. Didn't tell my mom, didn't tell my dad, because they would have said, no operation. They'd have said, all the body, pure negative stuff. And I really want to go down the positive road. And I've had, because I must emphasize this, I had good experiences with my GP leading up to getting all the tests done. I had good experience with the consultant. So all those talk with the consultant put me in a really good place. And those connections are really important. The clinicians you're working with, if they are with you, having the jokes, having the talk, talking about the family history, where could you have come from, and how we're going to manage it, those are important. Those are very, very important. But also, getting the individual to manage himself while he's working, looking after his family, talking to the employer, getting time off work, and not feeling guilty. Yeah, not feeling guilty at all about you having, but it wasn't cancer, but my prostate was enlarged. So imagine, mine was only enlarged. Yeah, and I had that much trouble. Imagine it possibly say, thank you, well, God bless all the men who had prostate and how you manage that. But the enlargement for me, that was causing a lot of havoc. So in the end, shortly, they decided to, so sort of weird decision. They decided to go for the operation, but they would only take out 60% of the prostate. The 40%, he said, we don't need to take all of it out. And we deliberate for weeks. We don't need to remove it. We went back and went back, forward and back. We don't need to move it, just take 60% out, yeah? So we went for it, had 60% of it removed, and here I am. The aftercare I got after that from the hospital was really, really good. And yeah, it was really good. So after I sort of came home on a Monday, and by the Wednesday, I was back out on a training course. After the hospital visit. Yeah, because all the care, because the prostate after it was removed, all the care for the leaking of the drainage of that prostate that was left, yeah, all that was taken care of in the hospital. So by the time I come home, I literally was weeing normal again 6 days later, and So my message to the community and all young men, all men 40 plus, yeah, start getting the PSA check or the check that will detect whether you've got a large prostate or there's any cancer at all. We must win this battle, so I thank you to all of you tonight. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Come on, I think we can put our hands a bit louder than that. Thank you so much. And you look good as well. You don't even look like you've been through nothing.
I'm reached my 70th birthday in 10 days' time.
Did you hear what he said? He said 70th birthday. Somebody shout happy birthday, 70th birthday. You know what? For me, next time, when you take pictures of me, do you mind taking it from a height? I look slimmer.
Did you get one?
She got you, yeah. She got your good side. She got you. But I'm trying to look slimmer, so you got to take the camera angle from, you know. Thank you so much, Uncle Milton. Bless you. Bless you. Is everyone okay? Do you know this is a very tough subject, but I'm really glad that we're addressing it hands on, head forward. Do you know what I mean? We're really dealing with it. Andrew, this is powerful, man. Thank you so much. Now, I've brought the time back, literally brought it back by 10 minutes. I'm going to introduce Paul in a moment, and then after Paul, Lee will take over straight away from there and introduce Macmillan Cancer Support Team, and then the final panel discussion. And Lee's, Lee's a brilliant guy, so I'm excited for this. But I want to call up Prostate Cancer UK. But as I call up Prostate Cancer UK, I think I need to put my neck on the line. 4 years ago, I did an event and raised £3,000 for Prostate Cancer UK. I did a one-man event and raised every penny to Prostate Cancer UK. I did that for prostate cancer because my dad was diagnosed with it. And I would like to put a challenge out. I've got two great bishops in the room. I've got Andrew in the room. I've got Lee and some really good guys. By the end of the year, guys, I want to do another fundraiser to raise money for an awareness. And I want to support organizations like Cancer, Don't Let It Win. I want to support all organizations, Andrew, that's dealing with prostate cancer. We can put our times, our energy on the line. Let's do it. We need to create more of an awareness, and I heard what the gentleman said earlier, so guys can feel safe to have dialogue and conversations about it. Does that make sense? So let's consider that, Bishop. Let's consider that in the near future to do a massive fundraiser where we can help organisations that are doing well. Is that okay, ladies and gents? That's too quiet. Is that okay, ladies and gents? So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, it's an honour to welcome from Prostate Cancer UK, Paul Moonim. And then straight after that, Lee will take over. Give him a round of applause. Thank you, Paul.
Thanks, Anthony. Thank you. Right, thanks. I better hurry up. I've only got 6 minutes. Right. Thank you very much for having me here today. And it's a really wonderful place, wonderful building. I just wanted to say just a few words. In terms of, I think it's great that we're doing this event today because prostate cancer is a very complex cancer. And I think you've all heard today people's stories and what people have said and the experiences they've been through. And the one thing I think you'll all have picked up is that there's no uniformity. Everyone's had a different experience, from the wonderful Jeff Thompson to other speakers. And I think the main thing I would say to everyone is be aware of your family history. I think family history is a really critical point. And I think people have been talking about the right ages. I think we would suggest, I think for black men, especially from 40s, it's best to start talking to your GP about doing the PSA blood test. And it's really important you have that proper conversation with your GP and explain to them why you need your PSA blood test. Because some people are having difficulties getting through the GP. And so it's a very close relationship between you and your GP. So I think you do need to explain that you've got a family history, why you want the PSA blood test, and then you go forward with that. So it's really important because, and you need to, GPs are quite busy people, so you do need to remind them that you are in the high risk factors. If you're black, in your 40s, I think, I know the NHS guidance says 45 plus, and particularly with the family history, also prostate cancer, but other cancers too, you should really ask for that PSA blood test. In terms of Prostate Cancer UK, we have an online risk checker on our website, which is prostatecanceruk.org, and we would advise all men to take that risk checker. It's just 30 seconds, and it just gives you an idea of what your risk is and enables you to take action. We've had some discussion about psychological support, and that is actually very, very important. And Prostate Cancer UK, we have a specialist nurse service, and the number is 0800 073 8484. And anybody can phone up, ring up, and talk and ask questions about any aspect of prostate cancer. They're there to help you and to talk with you. But also in terms of psychological support needs, one of the things that we work very closely with is organizations such as Cancer Don't Let It Win and others, because what we want to do is encourage more local support for black men. And I think I've had discussions with From Me to You, and with the support group at Guys as well. So I think what we want to do is see more of that work happening locally in terms of that support. Because, for example, even waiting for the results, that is quite difficult. And one thing I'm also doing is reaching out across the UK and trying to get that good practice shared between the different black support groups in terms of how they operate, how they work. So, for example, there's a wonderful group in Nottingham called FAB, which is Friends and Brethren. And that is a wonderful group, and I've had a chat with them, and they've got links with the hospital. So it's almost as soon as a black man is diagnosed, immediately a phone call is placed to FAB, and FAB, they provide a volunteer, a support person, who goes through that entire process with that person. So it's almost like they have a buddy, they have someone that they can talk to, another man. There has also been some discussion about the awareness raising and the tackling myths and the barriers. And I think that is where it's really critical that organizations like Croydon BME Forum, Cancer Don't Let It Win, because you are based within the community, you are much, much closer than Prostate Cancer UK is. And I think you've got to take that lead in that work in terms of how to raise awareness and to get black men to come forward to talk to their GPs, to take the PSA blood test. But also, there was a question asked about research, which was about why black men are at a higher risk of getting prostate cancer. And you've all heard today about the 1 in 4 statistic, which is terrible. But the honest truth is, we really don't know why black men are at a higher risk. And that's because black men don't come forward for the research trials. So we fund a major study at the Royal Marsden Institute of Cancer Research called Profile, and they're struggling to recruit black men. So I think we do need more research, more of an understanding of why black men are at a higher risk. So one of the asks that I'd like from all of you is participation, and it would be great if we could work in partnership with organizations to get more black men involved in research studies. And I think my final sort of message to you, I think, is just to be aware and to talk to yourselves and talk among each other and to have that conversation, and particularly family history, because so often I hear from people that when they've been diagnosed with prostate cancer, their mother or someone says to them, "Oh yeah, your dad had prostate cancer," or and it's like, well, why didn't you tell me this before then? This would have been good to, for me to know. So I think it's really, really important that we have more conversation among the communities. Right, I think that's it from me. Thank you very much, thanks. Oh, where's Anthony? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Paul. Thank you, thank you. Can we put our hands together for him again? I am so privileged to be in this space and privileged to work for one of the most amazing charities that the UK has, in my opinion. And why I love my place of work so much is that they allow me to bring my authentic self to work. And as I stand up in front of this big, shiny pulpit, I remember my days of being at Jamaica Theological Seminary. And I haven't heard anybody say it yet since this evening, but I find it very hard to come into a place of worship and not say, "Praise the Lord." Shall we praise the Lord, church? Can we give him a round of applause? Just an appreciation, a little bit of praise, a bit of thanksgiving, a bit of, I'm happy to be alive today. You see, I used to sing a song when I was in church back home that used to say, I can't sing no more, brother. Sit down, sit down, sit down, calm down, calm down. Ain't no rock gonna stand in my place. As long as I'm alive, I'm gonna glorify his mighty name. I'm so tempted to preach, but I'm going to hold back. I'm going to step back. I'm going to stick with the time that my brother has saved, and I'm going to hand over to one of my colleagues, Robin, who's one of our partnership managers, and she looks after Southwest London, which Croydon falls in, so she's one of your own. So can we put our hands together for my colleague, Robin, please?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for inviting Macmillan here today. It's a privilege to be here. It's been great to listen to the talks and speeches today. It's the second time I've actually heard Jeff's story, as we were lucky enough at Macmillan for Jeff to come and present to us a few months ago, present his story to all of Macmillan colleagues across London and the South East, and his story hits home just as much as it did then, so thank you. I'm joined here today by Christine, one of our partnership quality leads. Give away, Christine. And obviously, Lee. Many of you will know Macmillan as an organisation, so we're a charity, and we strive to make a difference to people living with and affected by cancer. And how we do this is predominantly in two ways. So firstly, through our direct services. So for example, our website, our information, our leaflets. And another example is our Macmillan support line. Many of you may be aware of that. So anyone living with or affected by cancer can call the helpline, and there will be someone on the end of the phone who will be able to help you, but also who is able to listen and understand. And then secondly, the other way we support people living with cancer is indirectly. So one example is our Macmillan professionals. So we have Safika and Dr. Sandel here today, are an example of our wonderful Macmillan professionals. And also our Macmillan Information Centre. So you may have seen the one that is on the first floor at Croydon Hospital. We recognise at Macmillan that in order to make a difference and to better support people living with cancer, we need to reach into communities. and more so into those communities that are seldom included, to advocate and build for equity in experiences and services. And what I do in my role as a partnership manager is I work with what we call our partners to invest Macmillan's money in new models of care. And I've been working with Andrew since the beginning of the year to look at an intervention across southwest London hosted by the Croydon BME Forum. And we've done lots of back and forth, haven't we, Andrew, on investment applications. And I'm really pleased to say that Andrew and the Croydon BME Forum have been successful in an investment by Macmillan. It's a significant amount of money, over 500,000, for a 3-year programme. Yeah, for a 3-year programme focused on listening to black and minority ethnic groups affected by cancer in order to make sustained change within southwest London. So it's a really exciting intervention. We're going through the contracting processing now, so hopefully in a few weeks all the contracts will be signed and the intervention will go live. So I just wanted to say thank you for inviting us again today. It's really good to be here, and I'm really excited to see where this intervention goes. Thank you.
I was trying to peep over so I could see exactly how people are attired, because I see one of my friends, Brother Pat Reed, in the place, and he was talking about not being able to wear shorts or a t-shirt since you've been back in the UK. I see you're in long sleeve, but I'm not sure if you've got the tennis shoes on today. But it's good to see you, brother. Thank you. Can we put our hands together for Pat Reed, a stalwart in our Croydon community who has always been on the ground helping to push the best forward for the residents of Croydon. I was doing a head count. My maths ain't good, but I did the best that I could. There were 100 people in this room. And that is amazing, to bring out men and women for a discussion like this on a Sunday afternoon when you know, so rice and peas and everything now. Bubble up. Sorry, when you know that rice and peas and those things are being cooked properly. And why I was so pleased this evening specifically, and I know that if anyone can do it, the BME Forum can, especially when they partner with organizations like the ones that are represented here today. But I was so pleased that for the first time in a very long time, I've been in a space where we're talking about health issues, and the men outweigh the women. 60% of the people in this room are men. So for the men that feel proud, can they say, yeah, yeah? Anthony slipped out. What did he ask the ladies to say? I can't remember. What did he ask the ladies to say? Oh, yeah. Can you say, yeah, yeah, ladies, please? Let me hear you. You see how gentle they sound, and when the men say it, this power, the room starts to reverberate, because we're in the space. And when we do come together, touching anything pertaining to his name. Sorry, I'm going to behave myself. I believe, like I say, I believe that he's in the midst, and in the midst to bless. Can I hear someone say amen? Amen. I'm not going to preach, but in John 3, 1 and 2, it says, "Beloved, I wish for nothing more than for you to prosper as your soul prospers." So when the church has a vision and recognizes that we're trichotomic beings, body, soul, and spirit, we can't just look after the soul and the spirit. We have to look after the body. And the message today has been equivocal, going right the way through. Everyone said it. We have physical needs. Whether you're married or you're single, there's different types of physical needs. And we have to go to the place where we can get it. So I was so glad when they said today that there's food at your start, because my physical need had to be met in my stomach first of all, right? It wasn't jerk pork, Anthony, but, we give thanks for small mercies. There was jerk chicken and curry chicken, and we give thanks. That was absolutely brilliant. So we're going to move on swiftly to our panel discussion. And I want to invite Bishop Mark Nicholson to come forward, the leader of Acts Christian Ministries in Croydon. And over the last 3 years, Bishop Mark has been working so hard. I've seen him even in newspapers with the Man Van project that we have. It's been up in New Addington, it's been all over the places. And they were struggling to get men to come up to this van. But when the man of God stepped up and said, listen, when he heard someone say, I call you for you are strong, the numbers started to come in. And on one day, they had 100 people visit. So I'm going to ask us to put our hands together for Bishop Mark Nicholson as he comes up and joins me on the platform. Then we know that Shiloh is a great place. And the lead at Shiloh Worship Center, the center that provided us with this space today, with the exquisite cuisine. Where we are right now, the leader is called none other than Bishop Danny Bennett. Can we put hands to Bishop Danny Bennett as he comes forward, please? You see, I heard Anthony taking a liking to the striped jacket, but the plaid is my thing. I love a checkered, man. Bishop, I love your swag. I want some of that so I can shake a foot and, you know, sorry, let me behave myself. Let me hear somebody say, praise the Lord. Let me hear this side of the church say, amen. Let me hear my busy side say, hallelujah. Wow, Hosanna to the highest. I like it in here this evening. I'm feeling warm. Now, I felt so good when I saw a man that's almost 70 come up and share, because he's a member of our Fathers Forum group that meets every month in Croydon and we go bowling. I'll tell you more about that later. And I felt good when I saw other members of the Fathers Forum stepping up. And this gentleman has been out with me. The first time I came out and spoke for Macmillan in a public gathering, face to face, he joined me in this church. They didn't let me up this stage yet. They didn't approve of my credentials quite. But now I'm inviting Sean, if you can just join me. Sean Baker, he's a representative of the charity From Me to You. He's a volunteer with Macmillan who shares his cancer story. And he has a real interesting story that he's going to share. And he's also a nurse, a mental health nurse with the NHS. So can we put our hands together a little bit better than that for Sean, for me, please? The next person I'm going to invite is a legend. And let me tell you why. When you're a black man of Afro-Caribbean descent and you're going through certain illnesses, it's hard to share it with your family, your friends, and your community. And it takes a lot. And we all go through our journey at different times. We all go through, overcome our hurdles at a different pace. But this man, I hooked him up recently to speak in a piece of work that was being done through a hospital locally. And he said, all right, you know what, I think it's time for me to start sharing because I want to help people. And he shared his story. And I called him a few days ago. And I said, would you be interested in getting involved in this panel? Yeah, all right. I don't know if I can manage it, but I'm going to give it a try. I'm going out Saturday night, but I'm still going to come. And I am just so proud of Godfrey. And I'm going to ask Godfrey Duffy if he can just come. Is it Duffus? Godfrey Duffus, if he can just come forward right now for me, please. So can you put hands together for Godfrey? No, for our big hero, you have to do more than that. And then, of course, we know that one of the pioneering charities that are doing some amazing work in the area of prostate cancer is Prostate Cancer UK. And I'm going to ask Paul Moonin if he can join us once again on the platform, please. Now, the weirdest thing, usually when I work and do anything with Anthony King, he's the one that stretches out the time, and I'm the one who controls the time. But we flipped the script this week, today, and it feels like we might go over slightly, so just forgive me. I'm going to try my best. So I'm going to give each person, can I get away 3 minutes? 3 minutes to share their little piece. So I'm going to start over with our host minister.
Wow. Come on, let's give God a good God bless you in this house. It's interesting that some of the information that we have heard today from various people, we have heard them at different segments in our life, but yet still seek somehow to be very reluctant in utilizing and implementing them accordingly. While I was just sitting at the back thinking that from black perspective, knowing that for some reason, I don't know that if it's intrinsically linked that we're not very good at responding and looking and taking information to the effect and then allow it to be materialized accordingly. I believe that, Andrew, it would be good maybe for the next 6 months for us to actually launch among the churches in the London Borough of Croydon, because church has great influence with leaders, that there would be a designated day that in all church throughout Croydon, whether white or black, that we would actually spend 10, 15 minutes actually talking about prostate cancer as part of the sermon for that Sunday. I believe that that would be very, very good, because at the end of the day, what we're seeking is that the information is being transported everywhere, and that from black perspective especially, that we would be aware that this is very important for the black community. I was thinking that if you have a problem in your house, and if it's a plumbing problem, then you don't call an electrician. And it's amazing how we sometimes over-spiritualize some of our real basic needs in our life based on our autonomy. And for some reason, we need to be aware that not because we might be a doctor or a nurse or a policeman or a preacher, maybe the sociologists or the anthropologists would have looked at human behavior and discovered that the problems that we all face are very common. Some of the things that we carry in terms of title and function, they're just there. But the truth of the matter is, on the ground, if you are sick, you are sick. And if you have real issues, you have real issues. And so prostate cancer is real issues for us that we have to deal with. And we should not be maybe drawn into the stats and to say, maybe start look at yourself from 40. Maybe we need to go even much more in the 30s now. Because if you look at some of the problems that are rising among young men and young women, they're starting much earlier than 40s now and 50s. So I believe educationally we need to start to launch these information, and to ensure that at the end of the day, from Christian perspective, from a community perspective, from a borough perspective, and from a city perspective, we need to know that this message of prostate cancer can be dealt with, and we need to seek out early so that any antidote and whatsoever panacea is there to give us cure for it, we can deal with it accordingly. God bless you.
Thank you so much. I'm going to ask, I don't want to, because you hear me getting all stuttery, so anybody can stutter, can make a mistake. But I'm going to hand over to Godfrey and ask him if he can just come and share briefly with us anything that's on his heart as it relates to his journey. So can we put our hands together for Godfrey? Look. Ever seen a big man blush?
Thank you, Lee. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, church. Yes, so my journey, 2021, 2nd of September. So this month is my 2 years since I was diagnosed, and I'm still here today. Praise God. Yeah, it is a shock at the start. You say to yourself, as you've heard, you go to the gym, you work out, you eat hard, so you eat healthy, and you eat your dumpling and everything. This is cool, that's nice, You boil dumpling, you rice and peas and everything, and you yum. But you always say to yourself, that would never happen to me. And I've had a few people come to me and said, I've had prostate cancer, I had a operation, go and get yourself checked out. Yeah, sure, I'll do it, yeah. And I walk away and I'll go and do my own thing. But it took something to happen, where my dad is a stroke survivor. And we rushed to the house, he was on the floor, and I'm thinking, wow, I'm going to lose my dad. And my sister was saying, look, we need to get ourselves checked out. And I'm like, yeah, definitely. Anyway, so I go to work. So I haven't got myself checked out, I sort of ignored it. So I go to work and find myself running to the loo 4 or 5 times. And I'm thinking, what's going on? So I'm thinking, maybe I'm drinking too much water. Anyway, got to a point where my line manager started to follow me. He must have thought I was doing something bad. He started to follow me to the toilet. I said, where are you going? Are you okay? Yeah, I'm okay, I just need to go to the toilet. Anyway, so I said, boy, you know what, I better go and get myself checked out. So go to my GP, and I said, look, I need an MOT. He said, oh, okay, come in tomorrow. I said, yeah, come in next day. And he said to me, right, we're going to do your checks, and then you get your results in about 2 days' time. He said, if not hear from me between now and Friday, you're okay. So I'm at work, and he rings me, and he said, oh, your PSA is 301 with no symptoms. So, yeah, no symptoms at all, none. So I said, well, isn't that a good thing? Because, you know, no symptoms, so, you know, I'm all right. He said, well, no, we've got to do another one. And if it's high, we're going to send you for a biopsy. So I'm thinking, boy, what's this now? So I go and research PSA. I realized, I thought, oh, God. So now everything's just sinking in now. So still at that point, I'm thinking, you know, I'll be all right. He's going to come back to me and say, you're fine. He ring him up again, and he said, right, you know, your PSA level is now 287, no symptoms. So again, I said to him, oh, isn't that a good thing? He said, no, we're going to send you to Queen Mary's Hospital for a biopsy. So I go to Queen Mary's Hospital, get the biopsy, and they said, well, you know, you had the results in about a few days' time. A few days' time, they called me in. So I go on my own, thinking, not thinking anything of it. Just think to myself, you know what? All they're going to do is give me a slap in the wrist and say, you know what? Look after yourself and make sure you eat properly. Yeah. So I'm going. So I'm sitting down there, and the consultant had on this expensive suit, and you know, his cream, black trousers, black shoes, and his tie was sort of red and white and sort of black color, black lines, and you can see it was really expensive. So I'm saying to myself, boy, he must have a nice car, you know. Boy, and you know, so I'll just look at him. Anyway, he then says to me, oh, can you have a seat, please? So I'll sit down. And he said, well, your PSA is 301. I said, well, okay. Then he says, we found something on one side, but the other side is fine. So I don't get up and go, all right, I'm about to have to leave. You know, he said, no, Mr. Duffers, we found something on the other side. I said, well, what's that then? He said, well, your Gleason score is 9. So we found 4 on one side, 5 on the other side. So I'm now going, what's this mean now? What does this mean? They said, well, I'm afraid to say that, you know, you have stage 3 prostate cancer. At that point, my whole life flashed before me. Even his suit flashed before me, you know, because that's what I was thinking of, his suit. So I'm sitting down there thinking, wow, what am I going to tell my parents? You know. So anyway, so I leave the hospital and I'm walking down the stairs and I'm falling over and I'm losing my balance. And Roehampton is an area that I know very well. Got myself lost. So anyway, first person I called was my girlfriend who's sitting over here in the purple top, Andrea. And she's very calm and said, boy, you know what? We're going to deal with it. We know what it is. We're going to sort it out. And since then, she's been with me all this time, fighting through cancer. I'm now going through the mental side of cancer. Yeah, so you go through the mental side of cancer, which I've now decided when we come back from Nottingham after my daughter's graduation, and we're very proud of her as well. I said to her, look, you know, I need help. So now I've had my 4th session of counselling, and hopefully by then, by God's grace, you know, things will look up and I'll be okay. But yeah, I just find myself having mood swings, things that I said I dismissed. You know, I read about it and said, no, that won't happen to me. That would never happen to me. But it's happened to me, it's caught up with me, the mental side of it. So yeah, thank you to Lee. I met him a couple of months ago, and thank you again for bringing me here, because it's amazing what cancer can do, you know. It's got a negative side of it and a positive side of it. So thank you very much to Lee. Thank you, church, for listening to my story.
It's so hard to contain so much in such a small space of time. I'm going to move on swiftly. I'm thanking both the gentlemen who have spoken already, and I'm going to hand over to Bishop Mark Nicholson. Can we put our hands together for the goodly bishop?
Thank you very much indeed. I traveled to Jamaica in the middle of this year, and to find out that the #1 killer, I said again, the #1 killer in the island of Jamaica is prostate cancer. I spoke to many ministers that I think something like this must be dealt from the platform. But many of them did not want to mention the draconian type of search that they have, which is the finger through the back passage. And that was the put-off for many men going and getting checked. But I want to deal with it from a corporate level, social responsibility corporate level, that the ministry and the pastors and those in charge should take the lead on this. A year ago, we closed down our service. We thought it was only right after I was told that it was that the highest risk were from our community. 4 in every 8 men. And so we closed the service down and we invited a man by the name of Professor Nick James, I don't know if you know him, who came and shared with us, and our eyes opened, and I can even see Marie and Cliff was there at the time, pastors, that came and shared with us. But I'm encouraged by the testimony that I received after that event, and have been, as it were, a pioneer ever since. The testimony came and it said, I first used the man van after we had visitors from the doctor at our church. I signed up for help, encouraging other men to take up this opportunity of prostate cancer checkup. I went through the process and have totally surprised to find out my check came back with concerns. I'm thankful for this early stage. The doctors are keeping a watch briefly on my situation. The Royal Marsden have been amazing and even offered therapy, which was extremely beneficial. The man van has been the best thing to happen to me, and I'm grateful, thank you, for Bishop Mark Nicholson for arranging the visit and the talk back in 2021. The man van is dotted around Croydon. The last time I saw it was in IKEA. An opportunity where you can go into this van and you will feel at ease. You will be met by a doctor and a nurse who will talk you through and first and foremost give you a blood test. They will ask you to fill out some forms. Once those forms have been filled out, they will be sent to the relevant places, and you would be, without a doubt, your name would go forward, and they would look for you and reply to you within 24 hours. I took my test, and we give God thanks. It was 0.002 or 3, can't remember at the time, but I was glad that I did it. We raised the awareness of the man van, an opportunity for you to go in, get checked, and take it from there. I believe there is a corporate responsibility. And so we close down our platform after praise and worship, and we bring alongside the professionals to speak to the congregation. There are many who had said, thank you so much, Bishop, for changing the dynamics of the service, because if that was not the case, I would not know that this is my circumstance. I believe we need to be relevant, and I think at the end of the day, if we don't know, we should seek help and guidance to get education, seek wisdom. And lastly, in my years of ministry, I must have conducted at least 40 funerals. You may ask me, how do I know that? Yes, I don't throw away the programs. And I decided to do a research, and the most of those men that I had conducted the funeral had died from prostate cancer. Not all of them, but the majority of those men. But here's the thing. It was my job as a minister to lay them into the ground. I didn't know that that was the case. I never asked any question because I didn't think it was my duty to ask unless I was told. There were patriarchs, great men of God who had died with this very same problem, and they hadn't shared with us. I'm taking it a step further, that I educate the church. Educate wherever I go, Facebook, you name it, to let people understand that this is an area that needs to be dealt with. You can live with it, but if it's caught early, and I think the church has the best audience to allow this to come to the forefront. Please, if you see the man van dotted around Croydon, I would advise you, book an appointment. Go in, check it out. I can guarantee you, your life will be changed. Andrew, thank you for this opportunity, and I pray that everything that's been said today will spark us into action, because life is worth living.
I know that there's going to be some questions bubbling, but I'm going to ask that we just put our hands together for all of the gentlemen who have supported us up here, sharing their stories. Oh, I forgot my friend. I forgot my friend, Sean. So Sean is one of the members of From Me to You, a support group for people of color, whether you're male or female. But after the development of their group, they recognized that there was a need for a group for men. So Sean stepped up and he's now leading the men's group. So a large number of the men, as we can imagine, are living with prostate cancer, but there are others who have other types of cancer diagnoses. So I'm going to hand over to Sean, and he's going to share a bit about his experience and possibly something about the group, I'm not sure. Can we put our hands together for Sean?
Hi, I've got 3 minutes. The topics that's been talked about today, I was quite moved. You know, I think there's a lot of good information that's been passed. So I'll do my best to try and impart as much as I think I can. Right. We won't go too much. I am a prostate cancer survivor. I was diagnosed with it a few years back. Basically, we had it removed, and things are all right now. The point that I think I'd like to make is why I had the prostate removed. As far as I know, when I did my research, it said that if it's caught in time, it's good. So basically, caught in time means if the cancer is still in the prostate. And I saw where if the cancer had stepped out of the prostate, there was going to be all manner of complications. So one of my big thing was to try and get the prostate out as soon as possible. And never mind, I gave cancer the respect that I think I should give it, because I've had enough people in my family die from cancer. So for me, it was like a time bomb. Never mind the added stress of, I hope I get it out in time. I hope the cancer doesn't step out of the prostate. The next thing is that prostate cancer has got the reputation of you being impotent after that. But a lot of people don't seem to know that it's not a nice thing. It's not a nice death, you know, and it will kill you. There's no doubt about that. My uncle, he did nothing, and he died in 10 years. And it wasn't going to be sensitive for me to ask him why he didn't do anything, especially he was unlucky that at that time I was having my prostate being sorted out as well. And I think even before he died, mine was fully sorted. But when I spoke to his daughter, she said, Sean, you know what that is like, you know, he was a man of the world, and it just was like, this is going to ruin my sex life. You know, and without my sex life, it's going to be totally over. I had those concerns, but at the time I was like, you know what, I've got my kids, I'd like to spend some more time with the kids. So I did go ahead and have the prostate removed. The other thing is that we know that it causes like sexual dysfunction. That doesn't have to be the case. Technology has moved on a long way. The doctors have got so many solutions that they can give to you. And even part of catching the prostate in time helps, because what they then do is they do nerve sparing, so it helps with you recovering full function afterwards. What I found was that yes, after there was no life, but one of the things that the doctor promised, although he probably shouldn't promise, but he was so confident. He said, "Mr. Baker, we're going to get you back to where you were." And the other thing is that having experienced it now, there's a chance that if as a man you were struggling before the prostate cancer, after the surgery, there's a good chance that maybe what tweaking the doctor is doing may help you to be even better than you were before. You know? So because, for example, before the prostate cancer, you probably wasn't talking to the doctor about Viagra. After the prostate cancer, the doctor will be talking to you about Viagra. So if you choose to listen, he will help you. Right. The next point is, with regard to the nurse sparing, I think the recovery was very slow, because for me, I think it probably took the 2 years. I think it was 8 months before there was some life in there anymore. So I reckon that that's probably the time that the nerves took to recover. But it gradually got better. The doctor tried 50 milligrams of Viagra. It didn't work. And then he said, okay, try 100. Yes, it did work. But the upside to that is that, yes, it did work, but now I think I'm finding that 100 is too much. So, yeah. So, and sorry, you know what? I'm just keeping it real because, you know, I want you guys to know. And and it's not perfect, but it will work without the Viagra. It will work without the Viagra. So, you know, so when you use the Viagra, you'll be Superman. So there's lots of benefits. And right, so the last point I wanted to make was groups. Admittedly, when I had the cancer, I hadn't joined a group. But I had the benefit of a mother who is a nurse, and I can tell you, I think every day she called me when I wasn't well. And so I had full support, downloading every day, and my mom supported me. After the cancer was sorted, I joined a group, and for me it was so beneficial that I kept going. Even though sometimes it was hard to attend, I kept going. And it then got to the point where we then started the group for men. So we have a subgroup now, which is for men with prostate cancer. And some of the benefits are like, we've got a a guy who recently joined with us, and the doctor told him that he's on active surveillance. But he wasn't he wasn't really sure what active surveillance was. So we were able to advise him that, you know, this is what you need to look for, and this is what, you know, and we were able to advise him around a time frame. So he's now going to check out that, because it seems like for us, the active surveillance probably wasn't going to be happening as fast as it can, because I think that he had one biopsy and the doctor decided that it's a slow growing, you know, and I'm not sure how he concluded that, but chances are he just looked at it and he said, you know what, you have this age, and if it's only that, then chances are it's, you know, but we have advised him about what he should look for with the active surveillance, and he's now going to check it out. That's me. Thank you.
Wow, our men are local legends, local heroes, and we're so thankful for them sharing their journeys, their experience, and their perspectives. Can we just put our hands together for them one more time, please? So I'm sure that people have questions, and I think I can take three from the audience. I'm going to take three from the audience, but I'm going to ask one first, and I'm going to come to you next, okay? So my question is going to Bishop Nicholson. The man van. I know that there are sometimes it's so hard to get a GP appointment, and because of some of the challenges with the reception staff in some of our GP clinics, it can be hard to get a GP. So I want to know, as a man who, and this is bad, who doesn't have a GP, if I go to the man van, will they test me for prostate cancer or give me a PSA test, because I am over 45, even though I look young?
This is what's happened since. The van has been available and has been opening its doors and allowing that to happen. Now, the demand has been so great because of its location, building sites, or areas where a lot of men are prevalent. You're going to have to book online now. That's the problem now, in a sense. It's a good problem, I suppose, but book online. Once you book online, they will open the doors, you'll come in, and they will make sure, when they've done the test, your blood tests, fill in the questions, they will send that straight off to your GP, and your GP will reply within a matter of 2 days.
What about if a person doesn't have a GP?
Well, I'll be open and honest with you. I have not come up with that scenario at the moment, but when they fill in the form and they find that they do not have a GP, I'm sure they will assist them in that direction. I'm sure.
Thank you. All right, Paul, you want to jump on that?
Yes, yeah, can I just answer that point very quickly? I mean, it's great that the Bishop raised the Croydon man van, and you're all extremely lucky that you have the man van in Croydon, because other parts of the country do not have this van. So I would urge you to use this service, but as soon as possible, because October and November, it's going to Brent, so it won't be in Croydon. So please book your appointment as soon as possible. But in answer to the question, if you don't have a GP, one of the great benefits about the Croydon man van is that because it's part of the NHS, you're referred straight into the secondary care system. So your GP is just notified, that's all. Okay. You're actually immediately accessing treatment. So you're bypassing the GP, so there should be no worry about that. And you can have a walk-in appointment.
That's amazing. I'm definitely going to sign up, but I'm going to find one of my friends to come with me, because I don't think I can go by myself. I'm going to be real. You want to ask a question, please, sir?
Hi, everybody. I have a question. So, with prostate cancer, how does it affect intimacy and fertility?
Sorry, didn't hear a word.
So, with prostate cancer, how does that affect intimacy, and fertility?
Oh, do you want to answer that as well first? Yeah. Oh, you come first. Yeah.
So, so normally when men go through their prostate cancer diagnosis, we always refer sperm banking, so they can obviously in the future have children. And we obviously do sperm banking before they start the treatment. And we discussed that early on their triaging point, actually.
Excellent question. Thank you very much. Is there another question anywhere? Going once? I'll see a gentleman over here. I'm running to you.
Yeah, thank you. What I want to know is, when was it discovered that black men is more prominent in getting prostate cancer out of all other races, number one? And number two, how accurate is the PSA test?
They want to take that? Did you hear both questions?
Can you repeat the question?
Sure.
Sorry.
The first one was, when was it discovered that black men are more prominent for having prostate cancer? And the second question was, how accurate is the PSA test?
Right, so in answer to the first part, it was actually a well-known black researcher called Dr. Frank Chinwando. And so he did the research that established that 1 in 4 black men get diagnosed with prostate cancer. And I think it would be really interesting in Croydon BME Forum have him as a speaker one day. We're going to use him for Black History Month. He's going to do a profile for us. He's going to do a video. So it'll be really useful. I mean, I can make the introductions. I mean, he's an extremely well-known researcher, and he's extremely well-respected. And he led our Black Consensus workshop last year. But he established that research that drew attention to the fact that black men were at a much, much higher risk. And the answer to your second question is the PSA blood test is not an accurate test. So even if you have a high PSA score, it doesn't mean you've got prostate cancer. It could be a whole host of other reasons. But what normally tends to happen with the GP is they will ask you to do another PSA blood test in a few months' time, and they may combine that with an MRI scan, which is a lot more accurate. So I think it's one of those, I think prostate cancer, as you've heard today, it's one of those, it's a very complex cancer because people don't have symptoms, some have symptoms. So I think it's really up to you to get yourself tested and to look at your family history and to see if you're at a high risk.
What I want to ask is, I thought that the PSA, the normal
Please
PSA,
hold the microphone closer to your mouth so we can hear you, please. Thank you.
Yeah, I thought that the normal PSA level is about 4 to maybe 10 or something, or 8, I'm not sure. But if somebody's PSA is over 201, so how does it normalize? What treatment do you give to the person to bring it back to the under 10 level? So what do you do? Is it the operation or injection or what? I just want to know. Thank you.
So PSA levels actually are up to the age, so there is a different threshold for men above the age of 40s with the new guidelines, so the readings have actually changed a little bit. When we see a PSA of over 200, as you've mentioned, as I said, I wouldn't normally bring those guys in straight away on the day. When we are seeing such a high readings, we would normally rush them into investigations. Other than the PSA, we would then take into consideration if there is any other symptoms, such as obviously back pain, if there is any urinary retention and other different things. So obviously we would need to assess the man and then go with investigations. We wouldn't actually offer surgery or radiotherapy just before we complete the investigations. It would be a matter of an MRI scan. If there is a backbone pain, it would be a bone scan or a PET scan, and then we would actually act on treating the PSA and the prostate cancer.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think we're coming to our conclusion. We're wrapping up. We're wrapping up. I know there's other questions, but I'm going to have to say I'm sorry. What you can do is you... Sorry, Andrew's just been vetoed. I'm told that you can have one more question. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Church. Good afternoon. I personally have had prostate cancer myself. I had it in 2019, and I've been given the all clear. But what I wanted to ask the panel is that nobody's actually discussed the treatment options that are available, because I was offered about 3 or 4 different treatments, and obviously when you're faced with a predicament of trying to save your life, it's difficult to know which one to go for, other than the one that the doctor recommends at the time. Is there any suggestions that you have that other people in the audience might benefit from? Because it's quite a daunting decision.
Thank you. I know we have to wrap up. Just to say, when you are diagnosed, they have to grade and stage the cancer. So, in grading and staging the cancer, you have localized cancer, which they catch it very early, which is confined to the inside of the prostate. Locally advanced, mean it's on the surface of the prostate, and advanced, it's spread out. Because you offer those types of treatment, tells me you had localized early cancer. And there's at least 5 treatments, and I don't have time to go through all of that. But one is active surveillance, which we talked about. And then there's 5 different treatments. But you have to fit the criteria. And the problem is sometimes for men, they tell you, these are the treatments for you. You decide and come back. And it's difficult as a layperson. So therefore, you ring and seek information from like prostate cancer charity. Like them, when I used to work in the helpline, people, I will tell them all the treatment options, but I do not tell people which option to go for. It's you to make that decision based on the pros and the cons of the treatment.
Bishop Nichols?
Ever since I got involved in prostate cancer, there's just one thing I've really wanted to do. My wife gets a letter for her mammogram. My wife also gets a letter for her cervical screening. I would like to know what it would take. And that's something in my heart that I really would have personally campaigned, and this is the first time I'm speaking it personally. To run a campaign to touch the government that every man would receive the same type of letter. But I don't know where to start, and I'm really feeling it to do something, because this just could help go further in saving another man's life. But what would it take that our government, our NHS, although it's under a lot of strain, would able to send out letters to men that get to a certain age, I don't know, reminding them to have their PSA check?
Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. There's so much that could be said this evening, and there's so much that is to be done. So there's a few things that I do know for a fact. This is just the beginning of a process. The very first step was taken when Can You See Me Now was held in central Croydon. And then this is a spin-off of it. For the next 3 years? For the next 3 years, there will be many other events and activities similar to this to impact our community, to ensure that everybody knows where they can turn to, how they can receive support, what that support looks like, and what they're entitled to. And that's something that's been spearheaded by Andrew Brown, but you know behind every great man is an even greater woman, right? So this time I'm not necessarily speaking about Mrs. Brown, but the ratio of women that work at the BME Forum, there's a lot of great women behind them. So you can clap for that. So I know that there will be support groups. I know that there will be support groups around within the faith communities in Croydon and beyond as well. So just watch this space. My brother, the questions that you asked about treatment and treatment options, it's in those support groups that you can get that information. Jeff is still floating about. There's a QR code on his board. You can check in with him. He has a support group that meets regularly. We've got 2 gentlemen here from Me To You, and as I said, the BME Forum will be leading some of their own. Also, on Macmillan's website, there's a section called In Your Area, where you can find support groups left, right, and center. Or if there's information that you desire, in our B Macmillan section of our website. So if you Google b.macmillan, it will come up. You can get every single pamphlet you can possibly think of in different languages. We've got videos called our Mother Tongue Project, where you can get it in Igbo. There's other Asian languages and all sorts that are available there. So we're trying to reach as many communities as we can and provide the information in a tangible and digestible way. And there's also great charities like Prostate Cancer UK who are always doing things to support men up and down and across the United Kingdom as it relates specifically in their case to prostate cancer. So let's put our hands together for what's taking place and what we're going to see in the future. You know, I know I'm not supposed to be preaching or sharing too much scriptures, but my favorite scripture that I live by, I read it every day. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. True to form. This is not just a building where you come and pray and have praise and worship and raise your hand and shout and laugh and scream and whatever else it may be, and drop a little offering as well. It's more than that. And those plans to give you hope and a future is about things like this, where we speak about the real life issues that are affecting our communities, our families, and our households. And the only way that we're going to be strong is if we pull together, we support each other, and we look to the hills from whence cometh our strength. Please give me 5 minutes to preach. Sorry, I'm going to behave. So. All right, so here we go. There are some amazing people that we need to thank for what's taking place here today. Some really amazing people. But before I start thanking them, have you filled out an evaluation form for today? If you haven't, and you've got technology, take out your smartphone. I've got ladies with QR codes all over the room. Scan the QR code and fill it out quick and fast. Because when you fill this out, you get the chance to win something. So one thing that's important is that we need to know about our blood pressure, and the blood pressure check machines are a little bit costly. So if you'd like the chance to win a blood pressure machine, please scan this or get a paper copy and fill it out ASAP, because by the time I finish talking, Andrew's going to announce who the winner is. The additional thing that I need to say is, it's not just about winning a blood pressure machine. When you get the kind of money that the BME Forum has received for a project like this to impact our community, you have to be a good steward of that money, because you sign a contract and you are accountable for how you utilize those resources, because the community are the persons who put that money forward and donate it to Macmillan so that we can utilize it to benefit the community. So he's got to give back a report to say what worked, what didn't work, how they're going to change it for the next event to improve it so that more people can turn up, that our ratio can improve if it's a men's cancer event from 60% to 80% men, 20% women, and that we can make sure that you have vibrant, excellent speakers like today, but if we can even improve on that, it'll be even better. So let's see what happens, and let's take things forward. So please, please, please complete the form. Now my thanks. Do you remember the part where I said, behind every great man is an even greater woman? I met someone probably a year ago now, 6 months perhaps, called Leslie Tyson. And she joined the BME Forum as the Core 20 coordinator. And when I met her, I was like, oh my God, this lady is so captivating. She's a live wire. I can see that she's going to do great in the Croydon community. But she's exceeded that. This is our first event today for men. The BME Forum has struggled to have men events in the past. I'm not going to lie, we know that it's been a struggle, and Andrew always talks about it. And even when I was working there, it was a hard time as well. But she brought out 60 men out of 100 people in this room to this event to talk about the tough topic of prostate cancer. For that, I think we should clap. For that, I think we should clap. And in solidarity, I'm going to ask my ladies to say, yeah, yeah. Well done, Leslie. We're really proud of you. Congratulations. Congratulations. I want to do a massive shout out to ICSS for their support of this event. Can we put our hands together for ICSS? I'm going to allow you with that little light thank you, yeah? I want to thank Macmillan for their support. I'd like to thank Bishop Danny Bennett and the Shiloh Worship Center for offering us this beautiful space. Our caterers, who didn't give me too much to eat but gave me enough to be satisfied, and it was tasty. It was tasty. And then without any further ado, I want to hand over to my friend, my mentor, someone who I see as an inspiration, someone who I personally am not afraid to stand up and beat my chest and say, listen, say anything you want, but not about Andrew. Because when I see Andrew, I see integrity, I see quality, I see substance, I see vision, I see transformation. I see a person who, whatever it says on the tin, that's the contents of it. It doesn't pass the sell-by date, it's fresh. And the things that Andrew has done in Croydon in the short space of time that he has been here, he might not have a PhD, he might not have a master's, might even have a degree, but what he does have is the ability to change things. Andrew's got the change factor. So let's put our hands together as Andrew comes up. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, I won't be with you guys too long. Bishop Danny, do you have a blood pressure monitor? Bishop Danny, do you have a blood pressure? Are you sure? Because I was at his service today, and this guy preached for about 3.5 hours today, and I do not know how you done it. So, sir, I bless you and thank you for welcoming us today. Okay, I was asked, is there going to be a ladies' conference? Is there going to be a ladies' conference, Bishop Dana? Yeah, so we want to come back here in the new year and do a ladies' conference around cancer so we can have those conversations. Please remember, we do have stalls. We're going to still be here for another 22 minutes. So we have some stalls where we had dinner as well, or where we had lunch. So please go around. There's loads of information for everyone to pick up and take away with them as well. Pastor Hobbs, please stand up, sir. Please stand up, Pastor Hobbs. So Pastor Hobbs, when we talk about vision, yeah, Pastor Hobbs, bishops, if you remember, we were here about 10 years ago talking about the same thing, you know, and it was maybe one of the first time, it was about 10 years ago, when we were talking about prostate cancer. Do you remember, sir? Yeah, and Pastor Hobbs kind of brought all the men together, and it was maybe even more people on a Sunday night. So, sir, I thank you for that vision. I thank you for doing that, because from what you've done is where we are now. So, sir, thank you so much. And once again, I just want to thank each and every one of you guys for coming. Pastor Delroy asked us, can we post on Facebook? Can we maybe take pictures, post what you guys have done today here, and let's try and tag our families, our brothers, our uncles, and ask them if they can please go and get their prostate cancer checked. So yeah, I just want to thank each and every one of you guys for coming today. I want to thank all the panel. Thank you guys. Thank you each and every one. Doctors, thank you so much. Macmillan, thank you guys for sponsoring us and being here. And Lee and Anthony, who's just had to quickly rush away, thank you as well for hosting today. And I know we went slightly over time, but hey, we're here for a good cause. So we're going to quickly, we've got 2 more blood pressure monitors to give away. Who would like a blood pressure monitor? Put your hand up. So, all right, so I see that man straight away. This one here? Yes, sir, you come forward. You come, yes, you, man, yes, man. You're the first one to put one up. And then I'm going to give one to this young man here, please. I'll sort you out with one with Dad. My dad's asking, I want one. I've got one more for you. I'll give you one, Dad, don't worry. And, okay, the first one to answer this question, and we have to be kind of careful because there's been different answers for this question, but the one is the answer that I would, if I went online and researched, what is the age that men should go and get themselves checked? I see that yes, you stand up, whoever you are. The one with the hand up now. I don't know who. Yep. No. Oh Lord! Now everybody puts their hand up. No, not 45. 50. Young lady in the pink. Thank you. Come forward. Yeah. So what we're saying here, and what Suresh has said is, for black men it's 45, but if you go online it says 50. So please give a young lady. Please give. Yep. Thank you. Okay. So as I said, thank you very much for coming. Please go onto the Croydon BME Forum website. We do have an event on Wednesday. On Wednesday, we're going to be online on Wednesday. Please see Lorraine. Lorraine, please wave. And please see Lorraine. We're going to continue the conversation on Wednesday. And Sophia has said that she's happy to also have an online meeting with us as well, maybe in about 2 weeks' time. So once again, if you want to come to any further discussions, please come and see us. We're going to be in the back. See anyone with the Can You See Me conference logos. And once again, can I thank each and every one of you guys for coming today. It's been a blessing, and let's continue the conversation. Amen. Thank you, thank you, thank you.